Well, hello everybody. Hope you're all having a wonderful evening. Um, it's it's sort of nice to be here. I've got a bunch of cool stuff that I'd like to start showing off today. So hopefully you can all hear me. 30 seconds late. It all depends. Keep in mind that there is a delay between when Twitch starts and when I start. Plus, the event just went live on Discord, and I feel like until that goes live and I see the green title change, I would feel bad starting the stream because someone's like, "Oh no, I need to hop on," and we're already sort of in the middle of things. So welcome. So I'll say this is a pre-release stream. Version 5.4 is not quite out yet, but it will be out soon, likely tomorrow. It's certainly close enough that we want to kind of show off a bunch of the cool stuff that that's being added in. So why don't we start with one of the big ones? Those of you who played in Gen Con's special might have already seen this, or I did sneak out some of the code that would enable this. We've done a little bit more work on it, and we now have a default party sheet. So here we are at the top of your Actors tab. You'll now have the party. Right now there's no members in, but why don't we drag a couple of our friends in? There we go. We now have a party of 4 players. And we can go take a look at the sheet. So now it's a little bit clearer rather than the 3 meeple. There's a button to open the sheet. We can also minimize, maximize. Once you're in the party sheet, this is sort of the view that you see. You can see the number of hero points that everyone has, and you can add and subtract them. So if you want to give everyone a second hero point, very quick way to be able to do that. Here you have the top 4 skills for each of the players. It's just the top 4. It's not every skill they're trained in. You can see that the colors sort of match up. In addition, there's perception. Perception can be rolled from the sheet. The rest can't. And then all the languages that everyone knows. As you hover over the different languages, it'll tell you who can speak that. So Jarell and Quinn could speak Mwangi to each other, and that would be great. Or Quinn and Seoni can speak Vidrani. Everyone can, of course, speak Common. We can then go to the Party Skills tab. So rather than just talking about the top 4, you can now highlight and see what everyone has. So you can see that Jarell and Amiri are expert and trained, and Quinn and Seoni are untrained. So if someone wanted to follow the expert, you know that you could use Jarell's modifier and follow the expert. And you can see the different colors correspond to different things, who's trained in what. So it's a nice way at a glance to know. So if you're like, oh, who can roll this? There's also recall knowledge. Recall knowledge has the normal recall knowledge skills. So it's not every skill. In theory, you could use acrobatics to recall knowledge, but realistically, Paizo said that's not one of the things that's normal. You can always go to the party skills and see what it is, but the recall knowledge tab will have the defined recall knowledge things, as well as everyone's lore and who knows it. And so that's our overview tab. Next, we've got the exploration tab. The exploration tab is super helpful if you are looking at your party and want to know its composition, or especially if you're doing exploration. Right up top, it gives you the speed of the party that they can move. So the slowest speed is 25, and what that translates into as exploration activities per day. So here it's 1. You can quickly see who has those speeds. So Jarell can move fast, everyone else stuck at 25. It gives you the overview of the hit points, as well as their perception DCs. You can also add in the different activities or rest the group for the night. Finally, there's now a stash. So you can see what everybody has in terms of their personal inventories. In addition, you can also throw in stuff from each of the actors. So let's say Amiri wanted to share something that she's got. She doesn't need the Cheetah's Elixir, so she can throw it in. And everyone can have access to this who's in the party. You can configure the ownership. Nominally, it'll be observer or owner, depending on who's who. And so that's the party sheet. It's a nice handy way to sort of check things out. So don't think that this is finished by any means. This is the first release that's sort of going to the wild officially. I'm sure that over time we'll add some more or extra features into the party sheet, but it's definitely a very cool start, something that's been asked for a little while. So that would be sort of the first big one that we've got. Next up, some cool stuff that we've added in. So For a lot of characters, in fact, most classes, after this update, you're probably going to want to run down to level 0 and run back up to level 5. Let's take a look at Amiri. Actually, I think I've actually got her raging right now. We don't want that. So now, one of the nice things is you no longer have to add the rage action when you build a barbarian. It'll add rage automatically. So that's a nice little quality of life, something we just didn't do. But you'll now notice that the rage action now has a use button. We've got the rage icon, and then this button marked use. Well, what does that do? So I click use, it'll pop it up, and then I can apply the effect to my character, and it automatically puts it on. So it's now applied straight out of chat. You've just showed the GM what you're doing, and that's what the use button can do. Hey, rescue, go on. Yes. So for anyone who hasn't played before, there is a little bit of an Easter egg involving my cat. So here is Droogami. We can bring Droogami out. Droogami does have alternate token art. So there is Droogami's alternate token art. Very important to have. So will this sort of thing, the sort of actions that act, happen for other things? Absolutely. We are just starting to implement it, so don't expect absolutely everything that you can do to have this feature sort of already built in, but it's something that we're building in, something people can start using and playing with, and something that as we develop more, we will add more things. Pretty much everything that can be done that we could find has been done, because Teeklo is insane. He's also worked on a couple of other things throughout all of this. Between Teeklo and Shark, they've done a huge amount of lifting since 5.3. Make 5.4 a reality. The Kineticist stuff is crazy, but we're not going to get there quite yet. So Seoni is super powerful at level 5, and she has Force Cage as a spell. So one thing about Force Cage is kind of weird. You'll notice that Force Cage is a 20-foot cube. Well, we can now do a 20-foot cube. So it's a template that has been added to the system. So you can do cubes and sort of weird things. I think I put that on the wrong square. It should be on a corner as a cube. There we go. There's a 20-foot by 20-foot cube. So that's one thing that we have built in and sort of taken account for. I don't think it quite works sort of with vertical, but it is what it is for the time being. It's not like there's anything that really affects it. So that's one small little thing that we've kind of added in that's a little bit cool. And we also have partial boost tracking. So we've changed over from ability scores to attribute modifiers. So it's no longer the numbers, it's now the plus and the minus. And people say, oh, well, how do you know when it's partial? Well, now the boost will say partial. It'll have the big word of partial. We debated about making something that sort of indicated it in the bottom, but in the end, the only time that you actually care that there is a partial is when you're actually leveling up. So you can always go into edit and take a look. We felt that for the requirements, there wasn't really a need. If somebody highly disagrees with us, well, it's a perfect thing to create a module that lets you know which one of the ones you have partial boosts for, but we don't see a huge reason to put it in or maintain it in code. So we have a couple other cool things. I don't have Lem, but Lem's spirit can be channeled by Amiri. And so what I'm going to do to Amiri is give Amiri guidance. So this is a modified guidance. It's a little bit different than the guidance that you have right now, because now when Amiri attacks, we see the guidance up in the corner. We will do our strike. We will turn on guidance, and poof, guidance goes away. So for those of you who want to play around with this, on the effect, you can't use the sort of interface as it is to do this quite yet, but you can now add removeAfterRoll, and there's a couple of other parameters that end up falling into here, but it sort of means once you've rolled, this will disappear. Again, this is brand new. It's something we haven't implemented in every single possible place, but looking forward, this is one of those things that, hey, it'll disappear and drop off. One that I don't have ready to demo, but is a thing. Another one that Teeklo and Shark went and did and kind of got crazy is there's lots of things that have weird ways that they do frequency. Like if you have X number of feats from this feat chain, you can use this X times per day. That is now all captured in. So we do have frequency alteration be able to be handled. And so for any of you who play Red Mantis Assassins, that's something that we can do. Then a couple other ones. So we don't have an iconic inventor, so I created Droven. So here's Droven. I made him an armor innovator and just put in some random stuff, and we're just going to level him up to level 9. So we're going to give him the momentum offensive boost, which adds bludgeoning damage, and then because he is a constructor armor innovator, I made him an armor innovator. I need to put the offensive boost effect on him. So I've given him a gun sword. And so what this will do now is we can automatically add in that offensive boost for the gun sword. And I'm pretty sure if I give him another weapon, it won't have the bonus from the offensive. I've put overdrive on so you can see that the overdrive effect's there. But the effect exists so that you can select your daily weapon. It'll automatically default to a single weapon if you happen to have it. But if I now go and select it with a second weapon in my inventory, it'll ask me which one is the one with the offensive boost. Next one, one that's sort of been one that everyone has had to deal with. Another one that we have a use button for, devising a stratagem. So we apply the effect. I've rolled a 15, so the 15 will be stored. And let's say I didn't really want to use the 15 on my first strike with Amiri. So I can target her and I'll try and whap her with my cane. I'm not going to toggle it on. But then my second strike, I'm going to use it. And voila, so it automatically does the 15 plus 8 instead of rolling a die. Yeah, you still need to, you still need to use the tick boxes. You still need to do everything else. The only thing I'm demonstrating here is that we can store and then use the number. It also doesn't remove itself once you've done it. Again, it's a new feature, probably something that we'll integrate as we go along, but it's something that after you use it, it can be set to automatically go away. But we don't currently have a way to automate the toggles, but we figured this is something that a lot of investigators will be really happy to have handy. So that's for investigators. So what else do we want? Oh, so Amiri, I upgraded her armor a little bit. I gave it a +1 potency rune, but you'll see I haven't invested it. It can be invested, and to make sure that players understand that you need to invest to get the bonus, you now have this pulsating box that doesn't go away until you click it, and then the AC goes up. So that's something that's a nice little visual thing. The other thing that we've sort of added in preparation, it's for you to play around. We haven't started changing the system yet, but it is there so you can use it if you want. Right now, here's our Ghost Commoner. It does negative damage. But let's say we wanted to change negative damage into spirit damage. Well, spirit damage is now built into the system. So there we can select spirit. We can roll the spirit damage, and you can see we now have different types. So things that would be immune to negative will not be immune to spirit. So that is now something that is added in to be kind of helpful. We don't have it particularly handled, like if something's resistant to positive damage, it doesn't mean it's resistant to spirit damage because we don't know what the rules will ultimately be. But that's the way that alignment damage is going. So for, what is it, chaotic damage and axiomatic damage. Or not axiomatic, whatever the other one is. I think it's axiomatic. Anyways, the two types of alignment damage are going to become spirit damage. It'll be kind of like force damage. Lawful. There we go. Lawful. Thank you. So that is something to be looking forward to. One that's kind of important for a lot of people, as we start adding in the remaster changes, we wanted to make a quick way for you to try and figure out, because we'll have people saying, oh, I don't know what this spell is, or I can't find it. So if we go into the compendium packs, under journals, Under the Pathfinder 2nd edition journals, we do have a remaster changes. And you'll sort of see the different things that have changed or been replaced. It sort of gives you an idea of the way that we're going along. It's based on the preview document. It's all mapped out the way that it should all work going forward. There's lots that we could do to discuss this, but on previously when we were talking about the remaster, I kind of went through. So if you want to know what the process we're using is for sort of going forward, then watch the previous video about the master edition, so 5.2.3. And then, of course, the big one. So why don't we build a Kineticist? So let's start by plopping in the Kineticist class. And for this demonstration, I'm going to use single gate so we can demonstrate some stuff. And specifically, I'm going to use the fire gate. So it's going to ask me for my 2 impulse feats. So we'll say Flying Flame and Burning Jet. And so you saw that the list sort of updated and changed. I'm now going to upgrade to, let's say, level 9. As we go up, I'm going to expand the portal. I'm going to do Critical Blast. And why don't we do, so now you see there's more options. So we'll do Blazing Wave. Expand the portal again. We'll do an Aura Junction. I don't think any of those are in here. So we'll use Crawling Fire. Why not? So we sort of leveled up. And now we can go in and it sort of updated everything for you. The other feat that I'm going to add for the sake of demo is Lava Leap. And we will add what is Aura Shaping. That's what I want. So Aura Shaping, you can control the size of your kinetic aura, and Lava Leap has this fun little 2d6 plus 3d8. So first thing that we need to do is we're going to channel elements. Again, we can use, we'll apply it. Now I can automatically, because I have control of my aura, decide how big I want this aura to be. So we'll say 10 feet. And then our elemental blast now exists. I could do 1 action elemental blast, which gives me 3d6, or 2 action elemental blast, 3d8 plus 1. We can also look at something like Lava Leap, where the d6s have been upgraded to the d8s as well. Again, this is from Special Statistic. It's a new thing that we've added on. So it'll grab bonuses from attacks and add them all on. So for all the people who wanted to do different things, this is, or have their kineticists do many things, here's a good start. Yeah, so this only changes the fire dice. If I do anything else like the bludgeoning dice, it does not upgrade them. And then, of course, we also have our gate attenuator. Let's do a greater one so we can get the nice +2. So we put it in, we will invest it, and you'll see that our attack rolls go up. So there's lots of cool parts about things like what we've done here with a bunch of the modifications. So the inline rolls are now changing. This was, we'll say, non-trivial to do. It took a decent amount of effort. And so, yeah, those are pretty much all the big things. I'm sure there's a lot more to come, but compared to our data entry only release, that I think is a very, very big one. We won't say that we've got everything perfect, but it's kind of amazing the amount of work that's gone in. So both Shark and Teeklo deserve a huge amount of credit because Kineticist is kind of a mess as a class goes. Speaking of classes, we all know that the playtest is coming out in about 4 days. And that is kind of a really, really cool thing. We promise that we'll have the playtest class ready to go. So when Paizo announces it, you'll be able to download the new classes. I don't know that anyone from Paizo is watching, so maybe I can talk a little bit about the playtest itself. So if everyone else promises not to say anything, let me tell you a little bit about the playtest and the classes that are coming out. Hello, everybody. This is Teeklo, your very, very favorite goblin. Now, I've been going all around Galarian, and there's a lot of people who are very, very heroic and need a little bit more recognition than they've been getting. First, I want to tell you about someone who is very, very much like a goblin, very goblin name, but not goblin at all. Very smart. Name is Whitney Chatterjee. They're one of the system administrators who's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting, changing the migration of all the staff from remote work so that they can do all the things from all over and we can hire lots of new people at Paizo. In addition, they worked very, very hard at Gen Con this year and came up with a few very neat ideas. The biggest one was that we now have Gen Con bargain bin, which is perfect for a merchant like me. A lot of the extra stuff in the warehouse that would have been shredded have now been sold for massive goblin profits. So now you can go and buy all of those old books super cheap instead of the ones that cost a lot on eBay and elsewhere. So very, very good for them. And we thank them for all of their hard work to make our game that much better. And so that's pretty much everything that I can tell you about the playtest. The rest of it, you're going to have to wait for the next couple of days. But yeah, we promise that you'll enjoy it. And the new classes do look very cool. Anyways, that's all I have for you for tonight. So if anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to stick around for a couple of minutes and try and answer it. Otherwise, I think Teeklo's probably done a pretty decent job in the chat. Play these mods on Kingmaker. I don't know what mods. Will the party sheet support XP rewards in the future? I'm not going to say no, but I'm going to say maybe. It's something that we've thought about. It's non-trivial, especially with things like Pathfinder Society play. So if we do it, we want to make sure that we do it right. But we'll say maybe. Starfinder 2. Well, there's... I think it's probably a little bit premature to really talk about Starfinder 2nd Edition. We know that Paizo has sort of said they want to do, but I think that we've got the field test in. We released field test on day 1. It was very cool. They used it as part of the Paizo blog, so that's neat. But the real playtest for Starfinder 2nd Edition doesn't come out for their year and a bit, I think. So it's too early to say. How is who is in the party determined? It's whoever you drag and drop inside. So if I want to add Droogami to the party, I drag them in. If I don't want them in the party anymore, I can just remove them from the party. On the party sheet, can you click the skill and have it secretly roll for everyone? No. The only one that'll work for is perception at this point in time. Yeah, it sort of works like a folder in the actors tab. It's a little different than a folder. Was there a melee elemental blast option and did I miss it? I believe there is. There's melee and ranged. So it's the same as normal. Melee above, ranged below. It's got the cool little icon. It'll be video demand on Twitch. Otherwise, as soon as this is done, I'll download it from Twitch and I'll put it up on our YouTube stream. You better show the exploration tab. Sure. On the party sheet, you mean? I mean, you'll be able to see it yourself tomorrow, but yeah. So here's the exploration tab. So when is the update coming out? Probably tomorrow. Oh, right. Swashbuckler finishers. I missed that one. Yeah. So here we go. So Jarell, I added a bunch of different finishers for her. So I can't believe I missed that one. It's on my list. I can add panache. So now I can do a finisher. I can select which finisher I want. So I'll make a perfect finisher. Oh, wait. I need to roll the attack for a perfect finisher because it rolls twice. So there you go. Again, it doesn't automatically disable the finisher. It doesn't turn off panache. Oh, one of the other small little things that we have, as a visual indicator, if you've got someone targeted, if you hit, it'll tell you whether it's damage or a crit. So that's kind of cool. Any way to get combat assessment automated? At some point, possibly. It's something that we'll need to do is make daily refreshes. It's something that's on our radar. I'm only seeing the 2 action strike on the blast. Well, then you just have to toggle it to 1 action. So at the top of... Right. Change elemental blast to 1 action. Flags added for suspicious damage types. We change speed on exploration for horses and stuff. I don't know that we've got that all sorted out yet, but I'd have to ask Soup. I know it was something that the first version definitely didn't have. I don't know if we've updated it. Oh, that's right. You can't see drop-down content because of the way that things work. So yeah, you'll just have to trust me that it's when you click the button, it goes 1 action, 2 action, but you can switch between the 2. You can see the changes. Here's 2 actions. There's two marks, 1 action, 1 mark. Any updates on afflictions? Nothing yet. Afflictions is something that Soup's going to work on, but he's not going to work on it until he's done with the Kingmaker sheets. So it's still on the list for this current release series, but nothing's been worked on quite yet. I mean, I could show off absolutely everything about the Kineticist, but I think I'd be here for quite a long time. I think that tomorrow I'm just going to let people go and play with it. Improving the use of snares. When Paizo improves the use of snares in the game, we'll improve the use of snares as well. I think realistically, that's something that's going to wait for the next release of Foundry, because they're going to have sort of the triggers built in. That was what was won as the vote by the Patreons was triggers, and we should be able to do that to do a lot of things. And I think snares is one of the things that will really benefit from it. So working on snares right now doesn't make any sense with all the other things that we could do. Yeah, so that's a good point by Raymer Games. It's that the only way to make it work now is to use a module, and sort of it's a system position that we're not going to implement anything that requires an external module. So either we code it for ourselves, which we have done in the past, or we wait for Foundry to implement it. Seeing as Foundry is planning on implementing it in the next release of Foundry, or the next Foundry Major, I should say, there's no point in us doing it now. We've got a very long list of things that we can do instead, and it makes very little sense for us to implement a feature just to have to pull it out shortly. Any word on the Extra Life charity events and streams? They are usually a little bit later in the year. I promise that when I'm getting ready, there will be a significant push. I will say that A.K.A is currently beating me in an amount of donations received, but given the amount of work that he's put in the first part of this year, that's probably pretty well deserved. For those of you who have already donated to the system, thank you very much. It's always nice to support charity. I've sort of thought about what I kind of want to do for the streams this year, but I'm certainly not ready to announce anything, and I definitely really want to talk to the team before I do it. Definitely think I'm going to do something a little bit different this year. I did speak with Cody before he left the Foundry team, and he'd still be interested in playing, so maybe we'll have him back for Retro Throw Under the Bus. Otherwise, I'm sure we can do some pretty cool stuff. Any modules being eaten by the system anytime soon? Not really that I can think of offhand. Just sort of a lot of other stuff that we're doing. Oh, I will say about the auras, I've leveled up to level 9. You'll notice that I haven't put in my attributes, and so I get the same sort of glowy button here around the attribute modifiers. I don't remember if we brought that in 5.2 or 5.3. So if I haven't demoed it, then yes, there it is. Paizo streams, still planning. We'll talk after Kingmaker releases. Any word on PFS and Foundry? Yes, lots. Do the exploration activities have any automatic effects? Not yet, but eventually they will. Any love for Thaumaturge exploit vulnerability? Right now, the module is the best way to go about it. I will say that we added in a lot of big things for a lot of classes. I'm not saying Thaumaturge didn't quite make the cut on this, but if you see all of the classes that got touch-ups, there's also a lot of touch-ups that I didn't demonstrate. In particular, Sorcerers got a lot of love by Teeklo. You guys know the progress on Kingmaker? Yep, still ongoing. Still looks good for a Q3 release. Will Psychic get more support? See Thaumaturge. Yeah, Teeklo's right. There is nothing user-facing on the Sorcerer. I will say this particular release has had over 300 commits to it. It's one of our largest ones in quite a while. Not a lot is player-facing. I know it seems like I demonstrated like 15 things, but there were 300 and some odd commits and probably still a couple more before tomorrow. So there's a lot of back-end work that was also done to enable a lot of this. Somewhere we can see the change notes ahead? Nope, because we haven't written them yet. They'll come when the patch notes come. Do we level 0 to X after this release on our characters? Probably. There's a lot of changes, especially if you want the use buttons. I mean, what I'll do is I'll drag in another copy of Amiri and you'll see. So here's Amiri as she exists. We have not run her through everything yet. But if we go here, you'll see the rage is the old one. I go 0. And then I go 5. And then we select Giant Instinct. Raging Resistance, I don't know why it's asking me yet because we're not going to level 9, but we'll say Fire. And there we go. So we've got the new version of Rage. Oh, that's true too. I don't know that this one has any. Oh, yeah, well. So Elite and Weak templates can now modify things within the line inline rolls for NPCs. So with that, unless A.K.A chimes in and tells me I forgot yet another cool thing that we've added in, I'm very happy to call this stream for the evening. So I will say thank you all for attending, and a big round of applause for Whitney Chatterjee, who did some really awesome stuff to support Paizo both throughout the pandemic and then again at Gen Con. It's sort of the cool ideas that come out of the Paizo staff that really make the company as dynamic and interesting as they do. And I think it's sort of a shame that we don't hear more about sort of all the internal wins and the extra effort that some of the staff goes to. So after speaking with a couple of people at the Paizo staff, expect to see more of my good friend Teeklo the Merchant. So with that, have a wonderful evening. If you have any more questions, feel free to come and bug us on the Discord. And we'll see you all soon. Bye for now.